Dear Wormwood, I am very pleased by what you tell me about this man's relations with his mother, but you must press your advantage. The enemy will be working from the center outwards, gradually bringing more and more the patient's conduct under a new standard, and may reach his behavior to the old lady at any moment. You want to get in first. Keep in close with our colleague Globos, which is in charge of the mother, and build up between you that in that house a good settled habit of mutual annoyance. Daily pinpricks. The following methods are useful. Keep his mind on the inner life. He thinks his conversation is something inside him, and his attention is therefore chiefly turned at the present to the states of his own mind, or rather to that very expurged version of them, which is all you should allow him to see. Encourage this by directing it to the most advantage in spiritual ones. Aggravate that most useful human characteristic, the horror and neglect of the obvious. You must bring him to a condition in which he can practice self-examination for an hour without discovering any of those facts about himself which are perfectly clear to anyone who has ever lived in the same house with him or worked in the same office. It is no doubt impossible to prevent his praying for his mother, but we have means of rendering the prayers unconscious. Make sure that they are always very spiritual, that he is always concerned with the state of her soul and never with her rehumanism. Two advantages will follow. In the first place, his attention will be kept on what he regards as her sins, by which, with a little guidance from you, he can be inducted to mean any of her actions which are inconvenient or irritating to himself. Thus you can keep rubbing the wounds of the day a little sore. Even when he's on his knees, the operation is not at all difficult, and you will find it very entertaining. In the second place, since his idea about her soul will be very crude and often erroneous, he will in somewhat degree be praying for an imaginary person, and it will be your task to make that imaginary person daily less and less like the real mother, the sharp-tongued old lady at the breakfast table. In time, you may get the cleavage so wide that there is no thought or feeling from his prayers for the imagined mother. Will ever flow over into his treatment of the real one. I have had patients of my own so well in hand that they could be turned at a moment's notice from impassionated prayer for a wife or a son's soul to beating or insulting the real wife or son without qualm. When two humans live together for that many years, it usually happens that each has tones of voice and expressions of face which are almost unfriendly, irritating, almost unendurably irritating to the other. Work on that. Bring fully into consciousness of your patient of that particular lift of his mother's eyebrows, which he learned to dislike in the nursery, and let him think how much he dislikes it. Let him assume that she knows how annoying it is, and does it to annoy. If you know your job, He will not notice the immense improbability of the assumption, and of course never let him suspect that he has tones and looks which similarly annoy her. He cannot see or hear himself. This is easily managed. In civilized life, domestic hatred usually expresses itself by saying things which would appear quite harmless on paper. The words are not offensive, but in such a voice or at such a moment that they are far short of blow in the face. To keep this game up, you Anglobos must see to it that each of these two fools has a sort of double standard. Your patient must demand that all his own utterances are to be taken at their face value and judged simply on the actual words, while at the same time judging all his mother's utterances with the fullest and most oversensitive interpretation of the tone and the context and the suspected intention. She must be encouraged to do the same to him. Hence, from any quarrel they can both go away convinced, or very nearly convinced, that they are quite innocent. You know the kind of thing. I simply ask her what time dinner will be, and she flies into a temper. Once this habit is well established, you will have the delightful situation of a human saying things with express purpose of offending and yet grievance when offense is taken. Finally, tell me something about the old lady's religious position. Is she at all jealous of the new factor in her son's life? At all piqued that he has learned from others, and is so late that she considers she gave him such good opportunity of learning in childhood? Does she feel like he's making a great deal of fuss about it? Or that he's getting in on very easy terms? Remember, the elder brother in the enemy's story, your affectionate uncle, Screwtape. Here's the thing. Satan and his demons hate family. Usually because family signifies love, and a lot of times it is even used as an example for the love of God. You see this in things like Ephesians 5:25, talking about the husband and wife. As for husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. And a lot of times God will even call himself a father. He calls himself the father to the fatherless. And even when God teaches us to pray, he starts off with our Father who art in heaven. So if Satan can destroy the family or distort the family, he's also going to be able to defend the way you see God. A lot of times the Bible does mention, especially for the man, to defend your family against this. Try to keep your family united, and you're going to see me say this a lot. Spend a lot of time in prayer. That is the best way and is the first way to defend yourself and the people you care about against the enemy. I'll see you guys later. Bye.